Cozy Cloud Stories.
Chinky, the brave little bird. Today we are going to delve into the story of a tiny bird who, with her courage and determination, proved that size doesn't matter. It's the spirit that does. In a quiet, sunlit forest, there lived a flock of colorful birds. Among them was a little bird named Chinky. She was the tiniest of them all, with feathers as soft as clouds and wings that seemed too small to carry her far. While the other birds soared high into the sky and flitted from tree to tree with ease, Chinky often struggled to keep up. Her fellow birds teased her mercilessly. "Look at Chinky. She's so small she could fit in a flower," one would chirp. "Careful, Chinky, the wind might blow you away." Chinky tried to ignore them, but the teasing hurt. She would sit on a low branch, watching the others with envy. Her tiny heart ached with the desire to be just like them, big, strong, and admired. "Why am I so small?" Chinky would whisper to herself at night. "Why can't I be like the others?" Despite her sadness, Chinky never stopped trying. Every day she practiced flying, flapping her delicate wings as hard as she could. But no matter how much she tried, she couldn't fly as fast or as high as the rest of the flock. One day, the leader of the flock, an old and wise bird named Elderchirp, announced that it was time to migrate. One day, the leader of the flock, an old and wise bird named Elderchirp, announced that it was time to migrate. One day, the leader of the flock, an old and wise bird named Elderchirp, announced that it was time to migrate. "The seasons are changing," he said. "We must leave this forest and journey to a warmer place where food is plentiful." The flock cheered, excited for the adventure ahead, but Chinky felt a knot of worry in her chest. "How will I keep up with the others on such a long journey?" she thought. As the flock took off the next morning, Chinky did her best to stay close. The first part of the journey was smooth, and she began to feel a little more confident. "Maybe I can do this after all," she thought. But as they approached a towering mountain range, the skies darkened. Thick clouds gathered, and a cold wind began to howl. Soon, a fierce storm broke out. Rain poured down in heavy sheets, and strong gusts of wind tossed the birds back and forth. The larger birds struggled to stay steady. Their wide wings caught the wind, making it difficult for them to navigate. Many were pushed off course, clinging to branches to avoid being swept away. Chinky, however, noticed something surprising. Her small size and light wings allowed her to slip through the gaps in the wind. While the others were buffeted about, she could dart between the gusts, weaving through the storm with agility. For the first time, Chinky felt a spark of confidence. "I can do this," she thought. She looked back and saw the other birds struggling. Elderchirp, who was trying to guide the flock, called out, "We need to find shelter, but I can't see a safe path through the storm." Chinky's heart raced. She had never led the flock before, but she couldn't bear to see them in trouble. Taking a deep breath, she chirped, "Follow me. I can find a way through." The other birds hesitated. "Chinky, let us," they whispered among themselves. But with no other options, they decided to trust her. Chinky flew ahead, her tiny body darting through the storm like a needle stitching its way through fabric. She scanned the landscape and spotted a cluster of rocks that provided shelter. Over there, One by one, the birds landed behind the rocks, shielded from the wind and rain. They huddled together, shivering but safe. When the storm finally passed, the flock emerged, grateful to be alive. Elder Chirp looked at Chinky with admiration. "You saved us, Chinky," he said. "Your small size, which we all thought was a weakness, turned out to be our greatest strength." The other birds nodded, their eyes filled with gratitude and respect. "We're sorry for teasing you," said one of the larger birds. "We were wrong to judge you." For the rest of the journey, Chinky was no longer the bird left behind. Instead, she flew at the front of the flock, guiding them through narrow paths and tricky winds. With every mile they traveled, her confidence grew. By the time they reached the warm, sunny valley that would be their new home, Chinky was a different bird. She no longer wished to be like the others. Instead, she was proud of who she was: tiny, quick, and resourceful. The other birds continued to admire her, often seeking her guidance in difficult situations. Chinky had earned their respect, but more importantly, she had learned to respect herself. One evening, as the flock settled into their new home, Chinky perched on a high branch, looking out at the valley below. The sun painted the sky in shades of gold and pink, and a gentle breeze ruffled her feathers. She thought about all she had been through: the teasing, the sadness, and the storm. Her journey had taught her a valuable lesson. Your uniqueness is your strength. Even when the world makes you feel small, you have the power to rise above challenges and shine. And with that thought, Chinky closed her eyes, her tiny heart filled with peace and pride. She had found her strength, and she knew she would never doubt herself again. From that day on, the flock celebrated Chinky's courage and leadership. And whenever a young bird felt out of place or unsure of themselves, they would tell them the story of the tiny bird who saved the flock, teaching them that being different is what makes you special. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more, please subscribe to our channel. We're committed to bringing you stories that inspire and add value to your life.